Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a fascinating plunge into the world of Cartier. Specifically, the return of a really distinctive timepiece, the Tank Guichet.
Ah, yes, very interesting one.
And you're here because you want to get smart on this quickly and thoroughly. So that's what we'll do, your kind of express route to understanding this piece of watchmaking history and, well, Cartier's design thinking.
Exactly. We've got some great sources that really map out the Tank Guichet's journey, from its pretty bold start right up to this modern revival.
So we'll cover the design, the history, and these new 2025 Cartier Privé versions.
Yep. The goal is to give you a clear picture of why this watch is, well, so significant.
Okay, let's get into it. Cartier. When you think Cartier, you often think shaped watches, don't you?
Almost synonymous. Yeah, it's kind of their thing.
And while the classic Tank LC, or maybe the Normal, pop into your head first, our sources make it clear the Tank family is much, much bigger than just those two.
Oh, absolutely. And it's worth thinking about the Tank's origin, way back in 1917.
Right, the World War I tanks.
Exactly, the Renault tanks. That plus Louis Cartier's own interest in, geometry. It was pretty radical then.
That rectangular shape, the integrated sidebars, the brancards.
Totally new for the era. In that story about General Pershing getting a prototype, it really shows its early importance.
It really does. And that whole origin kind of sets the scene for how the Tank developed after 1919.
Leading to that whole lineage, the Centre, the Chinoise, the asymmetric.
So amazing designs. But the Tank Guichet, which came along in 1928, that one's interesting because the innovation wasn't really the case shape itself.
No, it was the display, wasn't it? How it showed the time.
Exactly. So modern.
Guichet basically means with windows, and that's what made the 1928 model feel so ahead of its time.
It completely did away with the traditional dial.
Right. Louis Cartier was all about simplicity here. He replaced the whole face with just solid gold, essentially, with two little openings.
A window for the jumping hour at 12, and then that arched window for the minutes down at 6.
It wasn't just a new way to read the time. It was like a statement against all the fancy dials back then. Very Art Deco. Streamlined, functional.
Challenged what a watch face even was, really.
Totally. You can imagine it. That flat, brushed gold surface, those two little windows.
And the sources really stress that futuristic Art Deco vibe. It's interesting, too, that the crown on that first one was right up at 12 o'clock.
And looking at the timeline, it wasn't just a one-off experiment either.
No.
Through the 1930s, Cartier kept playing with it. Different window shapes, different ways the brancards joined the case, moving the crown around.
Trying different materials, too.
Yeah, exactly. It shows they were really committed early on to pushing boundaries,
Okay, then we jump quite a way forward. 1997, Cartier's 150th anniversary. Big year.
Huge year. And they brought back the Tank Guichet, limited edition, platinum.
And this one had some pretty noticeable changes from the original, right?
It definitely did. The 97 version, I mean, you knew it was a Tank Guichet, but the brancards were sort of flatter, more squared off.
And the crown.
Moved to 3 o'clock, and it had that ruby cabochon, the polished gem, very Cartier.
And there was another detail, something about a bevel.
Yeah, a thin polished bevel. It kind of separated the main case from the brancards visually, and that little detail actually becomes relevant again when we look at the 2025 ones.
Interesting. Okay, and then another version came later?
2005, part of the CPCP, the Collection Privé Cartier Paris. Highly regarded collection.
That one was rose gold, wasn't it?
Yeah, warm rose gold. And design-wise, pretty similar to the 97 platinum one, actually.
So crown still at 3?
Still at 3, yeah, but with a blue cabochon this time. And it used the same movement base, the Piaget 9752 MC caliber.
With the mechanical jumping hour.
Right, which is, tricky to get right. The hour numeral just snaps over instantly.
Yeah, and then a gradual turn.
And Cartier mentions improving the stability and precision in the newer movements, which tells you they've really focused on perfecting that. These 90s and noughties ones, they've become quite sought after, haven't they? Sort of quirky, but cool.
Definitely have that reputation. Okay, so that brings us right up to now, the 2025 return, part of the Cartier Privé Collection.
Right, following things like the Tonneau, the Tank Normal, they're clearly highlighting key historical pieces.
And it sounds like these new ones are trying to bridge the gap a bit, keeping the function of the later ones, but nodding back to 1928.
That seems to be the idea, yeah. Based on the sources, it's about evoking some of that original 28 spirit while keeping the mechanics we saw develop later. We've got 4 new ones, 3 standard, 1 limited.
Let's start with the case. The description sounds quite elegant, smallish even. 24.8 millimeters wide, 37.6 millimeters long.
And really thin, just 6 millimeter. Yeah, the proportions seem subtly tweaked.
A bit more elongated.
Slightly, yeah.
Yeah.
And the brand cards look thinner, more curved maybe, which contributes to it being a bit narrower overall. The lugs also seem maybe a touch longer, more angled.
And they've kept that closed look, the solid metal front.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Full gold or platinum cap, vertically brushed finish, gives it this understated, almost tool watch elegance in a way.
But with some contrast from polishing.
Yeah, thin polished bevels around the sides and framing those time windows. And also, the little bit between the lugs is polished now, too. Small detail, but there.
Okay, but the big design links back to 1928. Number one, the crown is back at 12 o'clock.
Huge move. Really connects it visually to the original.
And number two, the brand cards are integrated directly again, without that separating bevel from the 97 and '05 models.
Exactly. Those two things are key. The source author actually mentions maybe preferring the look with the bevel, thought it added something.
Interesting. Shows how subjective design is.
Totally. But taking it away, plus the 12 o'clock crown, it definitely screams 1928 inspiration.
Okay, so the three standard editions. Yellow gold with green accents.
Green strap, green numerals on the discs.
Then rose gold with dark gray.
Strap and numerals, yeah. The source compared that one a bit to the look of the old CPCP model.
Makes sense. And then platinum with burgundy accents.
Rich burgundy strap and numerals. And importantly, all three of these have the crown at 12 and no cabochon, just like the 28.
And the time display itself. Still the same idea.
Yep. Faithful to the Guichet formula, jumping hour in the rectangular window at 12.
Snaps over instantly.
Right. And then the dragging minutes on a disc seen through that arched window at the bottom. They've kept the Art Deco font, too, on grained discs with a sort of light gold finish.
Nice details. And what's powering them? A new movement.
It is a new manufacturer caliber, the 9755MC. Hand-wound. We didn't have all the specs when the sources came out, but...
But they mentioned improvements.
Yeah, specifically reworked mechanics for better stability and precision on that jumping hour, which, as we said, is crucial for this kind of display.
Makes total sense.
Okay.
Okay, now, the limited edition.
Yeah.
Because this one does something different.
Yeah, this is where they threw a curveball. 200 pieces, platinum again, burgundy numerals like the standard platinum, but with a black strap.
But the layout.
That's the twist. The whole display is rotated 90 degrees.
So the hour window.
Is vertical around the 10 o'clock position, and the minute window, still arched, is down around 4 o'clock.
Wow. Okay. That's unexpected.
The source called it unconventional, maybe even slightly disturbing if you like perfect symmetry,
I could see that.
but also ultimately kind of cool and different. It's definitely a bold move by Cartier.
For sure. Be interesting to see the reaction to that one. So pricing-wise, what are we looking at?
Okay, so the rose and yellow gold are listed at 52,000
A
euros,
standard platinum.
60,000 euros.
And the rotated limited edition platinum.
That one's 66,000 euros. And obviously, for the full details, people should head to Cartier.com.
Right. So just to kind of wrap things up here, this return of the Tank Guichet in the Privé Collection, it's a pretty big deal in the watch world.
Oh, definitely. It really highlights how important that original bold Art Deco design was, and you can trace its journey through these different versions over the years.
Absolutely. And these new ones feel like a really thoughtful blend, don't they? Looking back to the original with the crown and brand cards.
But keeping the functional refinements from the more recent ones. And that core idea, the Windows display, that remains the absolute defining feature. It's such a testament to Cartier's history of, well, design bravery.
Yeah, innovation and boldness.
Which leads to maybe a final thought for our listeners. Think about how Cartier keeps revisiting and rethinking its icons, like this one.
What does that say about design?
Well, maybe it speaks to how much we still appreciate innovative, maybe even slightly unconventional aesthetics, not just in watches, but, everywhere.
It's true. The past informing the future.
Exactly. So maybe take a closer look at the pictures of these different versions. See which one clicks for you, thinking about the design, the history. It's a fascinating story of evolution.